All right, guys, here we go. We got 3 more examples. The last 2 are a little bit tougher than the 2 that we just did and this one that we have here, but same procedure, so we'll just have to deal with it when we get to it. Okay, so number 7, again, this is general form, or pretty close to, yeah, it is in general form, right? Your terms are all ordered, you're equal to 0, so we are good. But we want to go back to center radius form so we can tell what the center and the radius are. So again, we're going to have to go ahead and separate our x's from our y's. So the x squared term goes first, then the plus 14x, and then we're going to have another term here that makes that a perfect square trinomial. Okay, then we're going to put the plus y squared, and then the minus 6y, and then we're going to have a term here that completes the square to make that a perfect square trinomial. Okay, and what you can see is that we've already used the x squared, the y squared, the 14x, and the minus 6y, and that number term is going to go back to the other side, and we're going to get it back there by doing the opposite of it, and so it's going to be a positive 58 when it goes on the right side of our equal sign. Okay, and then remember, whatever you put on the line to complete the square for the x's, and whatever you put on the line for the y's to complete the square also has to go on that right-hand side. Okay, now that our format is set up, all we have to do is take our b value for the x's, which is 14, cut it in half to get 7, square it and get 49. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for the y's. So we take our b value of negative 6, cut it in half, which is negative 3, take it, square it, and get positive 9. Rule of thumb, guys, or note to self, remember that anytime you take a number, no matter what kind of number it is, positive or negative, when you square it, it will always come out positive. Okay. All right, we are ready to set up our x box for the x's. So our multiply is 49 and our add is 14, and you're going to find the numbers to be 7 and 7. Okay. And so we're going to go ahead and take our trinomial and rewrite it as x plus 7 times x plus 7. Okay. I also don't know if you guys noticed this, all right? When you complete the square, the number that you find here in the x box is the same number that you have here before you square it. And that might be helpful for the more difficult ones, number 8 and number 9 on this page. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, we're going to go ahead and set up our x box. We're looking for numbers that multiply to 9 and add to negative 6, and you're going to find them to be negative 3 and negative 3. Okay, which again, there's that little trick that works. Okay, it's the same number in our x box that we find as the number before you squared it when you were completing the square. Okay, so we're going to keep our connector, which is the plus sign, and we're going to take our perfect square trinomial with the y's and rewrite it as y minus 3 and y minus 3. We'll keep the equal sign, and we're going to go ahead and add our 3 numbers together. 58 plus 49 plus 9 is a grand total of 116. We have one more step. We're going to rewrite this as x plus 7 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared equal to 116. Okay, and now we have entered center radius form. And so now we can go ahead and tell us that the center of our circle is negative 7, positive 3, and that the radius of our circle is the square root of 116. However, directions do say simplest radical form, and so we're going to look for the largest perfect square that goes into 116, which is 4. 4 times 29. Okay, and the square root of 4 becomes 2 square root of 29, and so we're going to go ahead and cross that out, and we're going to keep 2 square root of 29 instead. And there is our center and our radius. Okay. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at number 8. You guys don't know that it's any different right now, but it is going to be a little bit more tougher than the last one. Okay. All right, number 8. Again, we are in general form. Our terms are ordered and we are equal to 0. And so we're going to go ahead and separate our x's. So we have x squared plus 10x. Remember, we have to complete the square and make that a perfect square trinomial with the number we put there. Okay. Plus y squared minus 5y plus a number there to complete the square and make it a perfect square trinomial. Okay. Equals, and if you look up, we've already used these 4 terms. That 32 is going to have to go to the other side, and so it's going to become a positive 32. Also remember, whatever number you put on the blue line and the red line also has to be added to that side to keep the equation balanced. Okay. So we're ready for our b work, and so it's going to be b equals, for the x's, it's 10, divide by 2 to get 5, take it, square it, and get 25. And that goes on the line. on both sides. Okay. All right, we're going to take our b value for the y's now, which is -5. We're going to cut it in half, and that is where this question gets a little bit tougher. All right, it is -5/2. You could keep it like that, or you could say -2.5. It is up to you. Okay. But we're going to take it and we're going to square it, and that's going to become 25 fourths, positive 25 fourths. Remember, when you square a number, it's always positive. Okay. So 25 fourths, or you could put the decimal, it's up to you, okay, on the line. All right, so that was the tough part. It's going to still make the problem a little bit tougher down below here, but we'll get it. All right, so x box for the x's, we got to multiply to 25 and add to 10, and you're going to find those numbers to be 5 and 5. Remember, it's the same number in the parentheses before you squared it, okay? And so we're going to take our perfect square trinomial, and we're going to go ahead and rewrite it as x plus 5 times x plus 5, okay? Keep the little connector, and we're going to do now the same thing for the y's. Okay, so our multiply is 25 fourths, and our add is -5. And you're going to find the numbers to be -2.5 and -2.5. And you might be saying, how the heck did we come up with that? Or how did we come up with that so fast? Remember the trick. This is where that trick's going to pay off. All right, and you won't have to think about it too much. But if you don't believe me, go ahead and take those two numbers, -2.5 times -2.5. They do give you 25 fourths. And if you add them, you do get a -5. All right, so that little trick is very helpful when our trinomial involves a decimal or a fraction. Okay, so now take our perfect square trinomial, and we are going to go ahead and factor it into y minus 2.5 and y minus 2.5. Or you can keep that -5/2 in there if you want, okay, which is what -2.5 is as a fraction. Equal to, we're going to go ahead and add our numbers, 32 plus 25 plus 25 fourths, okay? If you do get a decimal for this one, you are going to want to math frac it, all right? And so when you math frac what you get, it's 253 over 4. And I'll show you guys why you want to fraction that, okay, in a second. All right, so now we are ready for our last step where we write this as x plus 5 condensed, so it's all squared, plus y minus 2.5 all squared, equals 253 over 4. All right, and now that we are in center radius form, we can now tell you the center is -5, 2.5, okay? And our radius is the square root of 253 fourths, which is a pretty ugly radius. And what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this, make it a little bit prettier. It's not going to get too much prettier though. Square root of 253 over the square root of 4 is really what that means. Okay. However, this part will get a little bit prettier because the square root of 4 is going to become a 2. All right. 253 is actually in simplest radical form. There is no other perfect square besides one that goes into it. And therefore, we're going to go ahead and keep our radius as the square root of 253 divided by 2. Okay, so our radius is a little bit not so pretty. Okay, but that's what it is in simplest radical form. Okay, very good. All right, let's take a look at one more, number 9. And you're going to see those 3's out in front, the x squared and y squared. And we saw that in the beginning. Okay, I think on the second problem on the front there. Okay, so we'll have to figure out what to do with those. So here we go. So we're going to go ahead and separate the x's and the y's just like we do in every step. So it's going to be 3x squared minus 12x. Okay, and we would have a little space here, but I'm not going to write it because we won't be able to complete the square yet. Okay, so I'm going to erase this little space and I'm going to put it back in a second. Okay, remember, in order to complete the square, you can only have an x squared, and we have a 3x squared, and so we're going to have to pull that a value out of this one. All right, but I'll do that in a second. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and write my plus 3y squared, and then plus 18y. And then I'm going to go ahead and move that 24 over. So this is going to be equal to -24. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull that 3 out. And it's going to be x squared minus 4x. And now I'm going to have that space there. Okay. So a little bit tougher. I'm going to put the plus 3 there, the y squared inside, plus the 6y, plus that space to make that a perfect square trinomial. Okay, close it up. And then it'll equal negative 24 and sort of whatever I put on that blue line. But remember that the 3 is on the outside. So, and same thing with that. Okay. All right, so now B value is negative 4. We cut it in half. We get negative 2. Square it, and we get positive 4. So we put a 4 here, but we really added 12. So 12 has to go here. Okay. Do the same thing for the y's. It's 6 for our B value. Cut it in half. We get 3. Take it, square it, and we get 9. And so 9 will go on the line here, but we really added 27, and so we have to add 27 here. Okay, so that's why this one's a little bit tricky. All right, so now we're ready for our X box. Okay, for the X's, we're multiplying to 4 and adding to negative 4, and we're going to find the numbers to be negative 2 and negative 2 that do the job. And again, you could use the trick if you're getting used to it now. So the 3 will stay, and the trinomial will get split into x minus 2 and x minus 2 as its factors. Okay, keep the connector for the plus sign. We're going to do the same thing for the y's. Okay, our multiply is 9 and our add is 6, and then you're going to find the numbers to be 3 and 3, or you can use the little trick. Okay, it's a number in parentheses before you square it. And we're going to keep the 3 there, and we're going to split the easy trinomial into y plus 3 and y plus 3. Okay. After the equal sign, we're going to go ahead and add our numbers. Negative 24 plus 12 plus 27 is 15. Okay, I'll move my screen up a little bit. And we are now ready to write it in our condensed form. So we're going to go ahead and say 3x minus 2 all squared plus 3y plus 3 all squared equals 15. And if you remember on the front when we were looking at that one, we were going to divide everybody by 3. So when this gets divided by 3 and this gets divided by 3, we get x minus 2 all squared plus y plus 3 all squared equals, when that guy's side gets divided by 3, we get 5. And now we have finally entered into center radius form. And so now I can tell you that the center is positive 2, negative 3, and that our radius is the square root of 5, which is in simplest radical form, and therefore we will keep it. All right, so those last two a little bit tough, but just to show you that not all problems are created equal. All right, but you just try to follow the rules of math and do the best job we can, okay, to get the correct answer. All right, I will see you guys on the next side of notes. All right.